What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Impact review. And last night was the big Impact, the first show after Kenny Omega scuppered with the AEW World Championship to Impact with Don Callis. And the show opened. There was no opening crawl. There was no theme or nothing last night. It just got right into it with the bus that Kenny and Don Callis were in, and Josh Matthews was there saying, "Look, that bus has Kenny Omega and Don Callis." And at the end of the show, I'm going out there and I'm interviewing them both, and I will finally get a comment on what's happening and what's going on. And then we just cut right to the action. The first match of the night was Chris Sabin versus Josh Alexander. Obviously, Chris Sabin of the Motorcycle Machine Guns, Josh Alexander of the North. And this match was a really, really good opener. I think last night, obviously, Impact have been doing a lot of shows where it's been more promo focused and more skit focused and more story building focused. Last night they were let's just get everyone in the ring, show what we can do. And this match opened the card, and it was fantastic, honestly. It went for a little bit over 5 minutes. Both of the two men were incredible, as always. At one point, Josh Alexander went for his Tiger piledriver, which he took Ali Shelley out with, and Sabin just flipped out and had a big jump in Enziguri. The pair of them, though, exchanged strikes, but Alexander is much bigger, got the better of Sabin. And as he was getting ready to go for the pin, Ethan Page started shouting, "Drop him on his head. Drop him on his head," screaming at Josh Alexander. So Josh Alexander kind of looked at him and goes, "I know what I'm doing," but he just kind of, "Alright, fine." And as he went to go for the Tiger piledriver, Chris Sabin flipped his legs out, rolled him up into a jackknife for the win. And yeah, really good match to open the show. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with these teams going forward. Obviously, Ethan Page has a match against Carl Anderson at Final Resolution of the weekend. If he wins, then the North get a shot at the tag titles before the Motorcycle Machine Guns do. Is Ethan Page leaving? Obviously, there was the rumours that Ethan Page was leaving at the end of the year and signing with AEW. So maybe they're showing the dissension in the North now, so Josh can just beat him up and send him on his way, but who knows? Either way, it was a really good match to open the card, and honestly, I would love to see these two guys do it again. Backstage then, Moose is in his dressing room and Chris Bay walks in. They two are of course teaming tonight in the main event, and Chris Bay sort of talking to Moose, and Moose isn't speaking to him, and he goes, "You might want to talk to me, man, I'm your tag partner." And Moose goes, These do all my talking." She's been really intense, and Chris Bay's like, "Yo, you might want to show me some respect, because after this weekend, I'm going to be the Impact World Champion, and it's not going to be Rich Swann you've got to worry about, it's going to be me." And then Moose just sort of gets up and just goes, "We'll see you in the ring," and walks away, leaving Chris Bay on his own. We then got an advertisement for Dynamite. I say an advertisement, it was an advertisement. The way they were framing it is that Tony Khan has paid for an ad spot during Impact. And it's him and Tony Schiavone. And they're just there in front of a screen, you've probably seen it on Twitter, and they're just talking. And Tony Khan's like, "Look, I could have easily stopped Kenny from showing up here tonight. I could have sued him, could have said it was in breach of contract, could have filed an injunction, but I didn't. Kenny wants to be here, so Kenny's going to be here. But Kenny and Don, you're also going to have to be at Impact or at Dynamite tomorrow night. So we'll see you then." But what's on tomorrow night? Well, we've got MJF and Orange Cassidy, we've got this, we've got that. And him and Schiavone are going back and forth. And he turned around and he goes, "Tony, you were in TNA for a cup of coffee, weren't you?" And Tony just deadpan just goes, "Yep, one night, and then I quit wrestling for 18 years. Was so good. Was brilliant. The pair of them had a really good back and forth, and then they were like, "We'll see you tomorrow." And one thing I noticed, this is the first time Tony Khan has appeared on screen as a character. He spoke extensively about how he doesn't want to be on screen in AEW. He said he doesn't want to be another Vince McMahon. And he's never ruled out the possibility of him being an on-screen character, because obviously he might need to be. But he just said it doesn't appeal to him. He just wants to be backstage, behind the scenes, pulling the strings. But now with this storyline, he kind of has to be. And his first actual on-screen appearance as a character, and not like the Young Bucks throwing the money at him, or just being seen when people were running through Gorilla and stuff like that. It's on another show. He also at one point did mention the possibility that there are rumours flying around that he could buy Impact Wrestling. And if he does, I've seen a lot of people thinking that he might. If he does, I don't want to see them run it as as AEW Impact. if he could just keep the two companies separate, we know they both exist. Because Impact are doing really, really good stuff. If he could just give Scott D'Amore and Don Callis the money that they need to like really fulfill their vision, that'd be class. And maybe use it as a feeder system for some of the people that, you know, want to graduate up or, you know, just do some stuff. But, you know, he mentioned it sort of slyly and sort of cheeky, and he was like, you know, I've got investments here in Nashville, so we'll see. But this is a really good segment, and obviously that bit when he turned to Siobhan, he was like, you were here in TNA for one night, and then he goes, yep. It was that bit of fucking left wrestling. Following that, Brian Myers took on TJP in the second match of the night, and this was also, just like the opening match, a very, very good wrestling match. None of the matches went incredibly long. All the matches on the card were somewhere between like 7 to like 12 minutes, but they were all really, really good. Especially this one with Myers and TJP. TJP was obviously being a lot more technical than Brian Myers. Myers was using his size and his sneakiness, I guess. At one point, TJP locked him in the knee bar, crawled to the ropes, and like 2 minutes later got him on a knee bar again, and Myers was too far away from the ropes and just grabbed the ref's shirt and threw the ref behind him onto TJP. I think shortly after that, maybe that was that to go into the finish? Might have been to go into the finish. You know, but everything TJP was chaining together some offense. At one point, he went for the Mamba Splash. Myers got the knees up. You know, he had the knee bar in, nowhere to go. He just grabbed the ref, threw him down onto TJP. And then eventually was able just one big clothesline, which he is calling the clothesline from Stanford. One big massive clothesline from Stanford took out TJP, and Brian Myers picked up the win. We then see Cody Deaner backstage, Cousin Jake, and Cody Deaner just says to Cousin Jake, he's like, look, don't come out there tonight. I'm wrestling Eric Young and I'm going to do it on my own. And Jake says, look, with all due respect, I'll come out and I won't get involved, but Joe Doring's going to be there. I'll be there if Joe Doring tries anything. I'm not letting you go out there against Eric Young to fight him with Joe Doring there and me not there. So they agree on it, but Cody looks at him and he says, doesn't matter what's happening, don't get involved if it's only me and Eric Young. And he shakes his hand. Before that match, then we did get one more little promo segment. So TJP is walking backstage, and Rohit walks over holding the X Division championship. How to say that? He's holding the X Division title, and he's just laughing at TJP. And Rohit's going, TJ, man, guess what? You lost. Ha! And then he says, Saturday at Final Resolution, I will defend the X Division Championship in the final Defeat Rohit Challenge of 2020. The last one. This got me thinking maybe he's going to lose the title on Saturday. I hope not. I really like Rohit. He's really come into his own, especially like won it at Bound for Glory. I would say the first... No, he didn't win it at Bound for Glory. What am I talking about? Since Bound for Glory, he's really come into his own with the whole thing. I wasn't a fan. Really, it's not that I wasn't a fan. I just didn't really get it until Bound for Glory. Now I am 100% sold on Rohit, especially with the Defeat Rohit Challenge. And yeah, he just said, you know, Saturday will be the final Defeat Rohit Challenge of the year. And then TJP looked like he was going to say something. And then he goes, Rohit. He goes, yep. He goes, sincerely, I wish you good luck on Saturday. Enjoy yourself. And then he walks away, and Rohit just started shouts after him, I don't need luck, I'm the best, I'm the greatest X Division champion of all time. And he hugs Belt, walks away. After that, then we did get the match between Eric Young and Cody Deaner. This match was, you know, again, a short match, but both men really showed what they could do. Eric Young not so as much as Cody Deaner, but Eric Young doesn't really need to show what he can do as much as Cody Deaner. The pair went back and forth. At one point, Deaner did have the upper hand, and he went to the top rope. And Joe Doring literally just took 2 steps towards him. They were over in the corner on that side of the ring. There was a couple of times that Cousin Jake looked like he was going to get involved, but refrained. Then Cody went up to the top rope on the side that Joe Doring was on of the ring. Joe Doring took 2 steps forward, and that was enough to throw him off. Came off the top, missed, and was immediately hit with a pile driver. After the bell, then Eric Young and Joe Doring get in the ring and start putting the boots to Cody Deaner, and then Big Cousin Jake gets in, comes in, throws a couple of punches at Joe Doring, but Doring just clobbers him, takes him out, and then the pair of them pick up both the Deaners and look in the hard cam as if they're going to hit stereo pile drivers, and out runs Rhino, I've got in my notes, Big Terry makes the save. Outruns Rhino with a lead pipe, but it's not like the normal sort of like lead pipes you see in wrestling, which just like are thin, but he's got like a proper like bit of plumbing, he's holding like massive, it's huge, and he just runs out as the equaliser pretty much, and chases off Eric Young and Joe Doring, and that makes me think we're probably going to get Joe Doring's debut against Rhino at Final Resolution, and I'm cool with that. I want a horse fight. I love horse fights, so I wouldn't be mad with it. Johnny Bravo is then backstage with Tommy Dreamer. He says, Tommy, he's arrested. He tried to kill me. I was talking about Larry D. And Tommy goes, look. Or as well, he's actually holding Mr. Mundo, the puppy, Terry, and he's all bandaged up. And Tommy goes, for the sake of yourself and Mr. Mundo, walk it off. I'll deal with this. And then he, out of frame, just pulls up big kendo stick. And just turns around and walks over to Triple XL, who are like 10 feet behind them. And they look surprised to see him, obviously, it's wrestling. And he says to Larry D, he's like, you should be in jail. And Larry D's like, I was set up. Don't care. Whatever. How about this? We wrestle at Final Resolution. If you beat me, you can put me in handcuffs and take me to the police. But if I win, I'm fine. Tommy's like, yep, I agree with that. And then Larry D just goes, man, wrestling's great. I can win my freedom from an attempted murder charge by beating Tommy Dreamer in a wrestling match. And he can. That's how wrestling works. It's great. Another thing, Tommy skit backstage. He walks into Scott D'Amore's office, and Scott's not happy. Scott's like, look, Tommy, why do you just think you can walk around making matches? You're not an official, you're just a wrestler. And Tommy's like, yeah, well, I'm worried though. I did that, but it's okay, it's whatever. It's cool. I'm worried about Don. You know, I've been around, he doesn't say CW by name, but he goes, I've been around people screwing their business partners enough, and I've seen stuff like this in wrestling before, and it never ends well. And then Scott D'Amore kind of laughs at him, and he goes, look, what you're worried about is the entire wrestling world tuning into Impact. What you're worried about is a man who many people consider to be the best wrestler in the world, Kenny Omega, being on our TV show. Don't worry about it, it's fine. And then Tommy just kind of puts his tails between his legs, I suppose that's fair, and walks out. We then had one of the final matches of the night, the final first round match of the Knockouts Tag Team Title Tournament, where Deonna Purrazzo and Kimber Lee took on Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary. And once again, just another really solid match where everyone showed off what they can do. In the end, there was, a lot of good sort of back and forth. One thing actually, at the start, it started with Rosemary and Deonna. And they locked up and they exchanged a few moves. And then Deonna just got like spooked and ran and immediately tagged out. Because she's been dealing with one undead demon woman who's causing her grief and Sue Young. And now she's got another undead demon woman and she's clearly not happy about what's going on. And like it terrified her, which I thought was a really nice point. And Rosemary was out of the match for quite a bit of it. And when she was in, she was mostly wrestling Kimber Lee. Towards the end though, Rosemary was down like on her knees, like knocked out, and then Kimber and Deonna get ready for a move. Obviously it's Rosemary, she does like the resurrection thing, which is like the Undertaker thing, but from further back. She was from you've not watched any of her matches, you know the position that Nakamura gets himself into when he leans back? She does the Undertaker thing from there, just comes right back up, and then Taya comes in, and then they're all having a scrap in the middle of the ring. There's a hockey fight going on, and it's set up so it's like closest to the camera is Deonna and Rosemary, and behind them they're fighting Taya and Kimber Lee. And Taya and Kimber throw kicks, which Rosemary and Deonna catch, and they just like pull them out, and then both of them like land in the splits and look at each other and just start having a hockey fight in the splits. Then Deonna like breaks off from fighting Rosemary, goes to kick Taya in the back of the head, but Taya just like ducks down. They're still hockey fighting in the splits, by the way. Taya ducks down and Deonna just blasts her tag team partner with a boot right in the chin. As Deonna's distracted then, Rosemary comes out from nowhere, spears her, Taya gets up, throws Deonna out the ring. Rosemary and Kimber Lee are legal women, and she picks Kimber up for like her sort of finish. I was nearly called the panty switch, but that's Sue Young. And Rosemary and Taya Valkyrie have advanced into the second round of the Knockouts Tag Title Tournament and will be wrestling Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan. And next week it continues, maybe with that match, maybe with Havoc and Nevaeh against Jordan and Jazz. Yeah, nothing really to say about this except for the right call. I like how Deonna's scared of another evil undead spooky zombie woman. Makes sense. And it was a really good match. Then cut backstage to Alicia Edwards, who last week had a little bit of a falling out with Caleb with a K and Tennille Dashwood because they didn't recognise that she was obviously angry that Sami Callihan had tried to murder her husband again. As you would be. You would be annoyed if your pals didn't notice that. And she just sort of says to them, look, they come over and like, oh, Lish, we've got ideas. What do you think of this? What do you think of this? The Influencers, starring Tennille Dashwood, Caleb with a K, and Alicia. And then Tennille goes, that's a bit long. That's the sort of longer version, but I've got one that I prefer even more. How about The Influencer, Tennille Dashwood, and Friends? And then Lish gets mad. She's like, if you're really my friend, you would have noticed that Sami Callihan tried to kill my husband again. But I've not got time for this. Pretty much like, fuck you guys, I'm away. Leaves. And then, before she leaves actually, Caleb just looks at her and goes, I don't like your attitude. You're out of the team. Before we return to the ring, Deonna and Kimberly are walking around the backstage area, very angry. And they find Scott D'Amore, who's just standing there. He's just standing there in the hall. And they walk over and Deonna's like, look, Scott, I think you've got it out for me. First of all, you see that Susie is making my life hell, and you put me in a match against Susie. Then as a defending champion, you put me in singles matches and tag matches, and once I've finally got rid of one undead demon problem, you put me in a match against another undead demon, and we go out in the first round. You've got it in for me, Scott. Scott just starts looking at her and goes, well, look, now that you're out of the tournament, you can focus 100% of your efforts on defending that title, which you will do on Saturday against Rosemary, another undead demon zombie woman, and she reacts accordingly. She's really pissed off that after all the stuff she's had to go through at the hands of an undead demon zombie woman, Scott D'Amore's just like, we've got another one. Okay, we've got two of them. Wrestle her. And then he throws his format in there for some reason. But after that, we go back to the ring. Sami Callihan's in the ring. And he's cutting a promo and he goes, I am the Draw Sami Callihan and I am the best professional wrestler in the world. Impact needs Sami Callihan. Sami Callihan does not need Impact. But because I'm such a good guy, I continue to wrestle here. And let's talk about the most headline grabbing thing I've ever done. It was when I broke Eddie Edwards' face with a baseball bat, and he's holding a baseball bat. And he goes, you know what, VT, roll it up. And they show the clip, but they cut just before the thing cuts back to a shot of in the arena with the Tron still in focus. Thank God, because I don't ever want to see that clip again. It makes me a bit queasy just knowing what happened. And then he goes, that was the most headline grabbing thing I've ever done in this company. Until 2 weeks ago when I did it again. Roll that clip. And then it won't load. And he's going, people in the truck, come on, roll the clip. You told me you'd roll the clip. And then Alicia's music hits. And Lish walks out. Before she can say anything, Sami Callihan just goes, listen, you think you're a big wrestler. You think you're a big shot. Last time you got in the ring, you nearly got pile drove by Eric Young. But guess what? The one difference between me and Eric Young is he has better manners than me. Take one step forward and I'll break your neck. Incredible. Then Lish says, the mistake I made last time was I came alone. She says something else, but then she says that. Eddie Edwards runs in, jumps a barrier, and him and Sami have a fight. Eddie's got a big old shiner from the time that he lost his eye again a couple weeks ago, which looked naff. The shiner didn't look naff. The shiner actually looked really good. The big black eye looked good, but the actual spot from a couple weeks ago looked a bit naff. I'm glad I didn't show that again, because it would have just made me laugh, probably. And then Sami was sent on his way, and Eddie had his baseball bat. So, hopefully that'll turn into something. But then cut to them two backstage, and Eddie's just like running around, screaming. He's like, yes! And Lish is like, Eddie. And he's like, yes! I beat up Sami! It's brilliant. It's so good. And then she goes, Eddie, we dealt with your problem, can we deal with my problem? And he just looks at his wife and he just goes, yeah, let's get it, let's fix it, yeah! It's amazing. It's really good. And they walk off. And it wasn't announced on the show, but I saw on social media on Saturday, Final Resolution, Caleb Conley, still being called Caleb with a K, and Tennille Dashwood will be wrestling Alicia and Eddie Edwards, and that'll be fun. We then go back to the ring for the main event of our Chris Bay and Moose versus Willie Mack and Rich Swann. And the big story going into this was that Moose does not trust Chris Bay. Moose just wants to fight everyone. Like, he's tagging in off Chris Bay and he's like pretty much giving him chops. But, you know, Chris Bay's being Chris Bay, he's having a great match with like Willie Mack and with Rich Swann. Same with Moose. They're there working as singles wrestlers, whereas Willie and Rich are working as a team. At one point, Chris Bay tags in, Moose just picks him up and power bombs him onto Willie Mack. It was really, really good. Towards the end, it sort of breaks down. There's sort of everyone's going everywhere, but Chris Bay is a legal man, and Moose just mounts Willie Mack and just starts delivering the elbows like he's been doing for like the TKO finishes, and then before he can get DQ'd, just gets off and just runs out to fight Rich Swann, and then Chris Bay sort of looks over at Willie Mack, crawls on top, gets the pin. So he's going in to final resolution, technically, with a win over the world champ. And I really like this match. Everyone once again showing what they can do. Kind of sucks that Willie Mack just once again got laid out because it wasn't. I mean, it was the finish, but there was like 5-10 seconds before Chris Bay crawled in. And I understand he's taking elbow strikes to the temple from like this, like in close proximity from Moose. I understand that would kill you, but I just think Willie Mack maybe should have had a little bit of fight towards the end. But that's just me. It was a really good show. Obviously, everything at this show is under a microscope because of the increased audience. And I think, this was the right show to have for this increased audience. Just more matches, less silly stuff. There obviously was still a lot of silly stuff going on, but less of a focus on it for now to get people in the door on Impact again. And yeah, really good main event. I'm really looking forward to Final Resolution. But before we go home, we have the interview with Josh Matthews and Kenny Omega. Before that though, Rich Swann was walking through the backstage area, getting ready to leave, and there's a guy there with a list, and he just says, "You can't come through here. Champ's blocked off the parking lot." Rich Swann's like, "I am the champ." And he's like, "Nope. AEW champ Kenny Omega." And then Josh Matthews walks by and he goes, "Whoa, who?" He's like, "Josh Matthews, I'm on the list for the interview." And he goes, "Right, okay." So then he goes out, and you see Josh walk onto the bus, and he's shouting, he's like, "Don, Kenny, where are you?" Sort of sits down, Don and Kenny walk out, and Don goes, "Before we start this interview, Josh, let's make some history. Right here we have the Jon Moxley nameplate, still attached to the AEW World Championship. We've not wanted to do this because we wanted to do it on Impact. I've got Kenny Omega's nameplate, so let's just screw it off." And then he hands Moxley's one to Kenny. He goes, "Josh, you were in Stanford, right?" And Callis is like, "Yeah, he's a real Stanford stooge." And he goes, You knew Ambrose, Tough Enough Season 1. You were friends with him, you want some memorabilia? Because I don't need it." Throws it away. And they go on to just cut this amazing promo. One thing I always said about Kenny in AEW, Kenny's a good promo as a bad guy. Never cut a promo that resonated with me in AEW. And his time in AEW until last night. Because he also came out with his hair darker, but with very prominent blonde streaks through it. He's looking like the cleaner. He's wearing the sunglasses. He's just having a great time. And Callis cuts this big promo about how they've known each other for 27 years. And it's always been in the plan to make him the best wrestler in the world. Because his uncle, the Golden Sheik, Kenny's uncle rather, trained Callis and looked out for him. And Don's saying, "I now look out for Kenny the way that the Golden Sheik looked out for me." This has all been in the plan. And then Josh Matthews goes, "Well, look, why did you get involved? Why did you hit him with a microphone, Kenny?" And Kenny goes, "Look, Josh, do you have a dad or a father figure? Well, imagine this. Imagine someone hit your dad. Imagine someone attacked your dad, physically assaulted your dad, without provocation, and you saw a weapon. Would you not see red and grab it? Because that's what I did. I don't think there's anything dishonourable about that." And the pair of them just keep talking, and they're waffling, but it's all good. At one point, Kenny says, "I feel like the old me again." Specifically the cleaner, he's meaning, and he looks like the cleaner. And then he goes on to say, "Don, when I was a kid, I used to collect comic books. Do you know that?" And he goes, "No, I didn't." He goes, "Well, but the reason I stopped collecting comic books is I never had the money. Doesn't matter how many rare comic books I would have, I never ever had the money to get the Holy Grail. I could never buy Action Comics #1, which is Superman's debut. I could never get X-Men #1 or Spider-Man #1. So now I collect something else." And he taps the AEW title and goes, "I've got Action Comics #1. But maybe I want X-Men #1. That's, maybe that's a AAA World Championship. I want Spider-Man #1. Maybe that's the Impact World Championship. Don, I think I'm just going to start collecting again." And now, Kenny Omega, is the belt collector, but better than Austin Aries because Kenny Omega is not not a tiny, stupid individual with the world's biggest case of wee guy syndrome who will like refuse to lose and like hold all these belts hostage. Because the story of the belt collector with Austin Aries came about just because he had all these titles. He had like 7, and loads of companies were just putting them on him because he was out, he was back. But with this is an actual story that you can tell and see him collect all of them. And I saw someone saying like all the smaller companies, the NWA, like GCW, fucking OTT in Ireland, MCW in Melbourne. Every company in the world should be putting their belt on Kenny and have him like run the J Crown pretty much with like 27 world titles. So we're getting belt collector Kenny Omega. Before this finished though, they said, look, I'm going to do something I've not done on TV for a while. Josh, I must bid you adieu. Goodbye and good night. Bang! And he fucking screams bang. It's great, amazing. And then he says, we need to get to Jacksonville because we've got a big announcement on AEW tomorrow night. Tune in to AEW. And that's what I'll be doing, tuning in to All Elite Wrestling. And I'll be back here tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you watched Impact, I imagine you enjoyed it as well because it was a brilliant show. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Last week there was no videos because there was a weird issue with my uploading. The schedule was broke, and this week there's been the same problems, but I'm getting it fixed. Instead of rambling this week, there will be 3 list videos. This is today, then my review of AEW's tomorrow, and then I'll be doing 2 list videos on Friday, 1 on Saturday, and a final resolution review on Sunday, and then Rambler on Monday, a list on Tuesday, Impact, AEW. We'll just keep it going, we'll see it through. But for now, I really do hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new, and I will see you tomorrow with my Dynamite review.